Hi, everybody. Welcome to Life Stories Podcast, People Helping People. I'm Shara Goswick, your host. My guest today is Kim Rogers, aka the Worm Queen. You may have seen her on social media or on YouTube. Kim has an extensive background in Western medicine, but when her own health was affected, she realized she had to do something on her own. So, through lots of research, through trial and error, and a lot of hard work, Kim has developed a parasite cleansing kit. I could have asked her 1,000 more questions after we got off of our interview. There's so many things I wanted to know, but it's very interesting. Her journey has been very interesting, and I'm so thankful she's doing what she's doing because she's helping people all over the world improve their health. I encourage you to check out her work and look into what she's doing. If you think this is something that could benefit you, we probably all need to be doing this. But look into it and send this conversation to somebody that you think may need this or may need to hear what she has to say. Thanks for
Kim,
being
I'm
here.
so excited to talk to you. I have so many questions about parasite cleanses. I think it's funny that you've been dubbed the Worm Queen. How did you come up with that, or did somebody give you that name?
TikTok gave me that name.
TikTok gave you that name.
When I went viral, I said, "You guys, I don't want to be known as the worm lady. I got to find something cool and sexy and I can make merch out of it." And so
Yeah,
literally my mushrooms have a worm that comes out with a queen
that is so
crown on its head. So
yeah.
I was deemed the worm queen and
I
I
love it.
definitely and instead of having a court, I have a hood. So
There you go.
it's my hood.
That's right.
Mrs. Rogers Hood. This is my hood. I'm the queen.
That's right. So why you've developed this parasite cleanse and you've developed this whole apothecary program and everything, but why did you do that? Is that something you were always interested in, or what were you doing before this all started?
In fact, I left working in urgent care because I hated parasites. I hated scabies, I hated lice, I hated worms. So I come from Western medicine. I've been in
Yeah.
Western medicine since 2004. I hold 2 healthcare degrees and I ran 25 healthcare colleges. I wrote the curriculum for those colleges, as well as wrote and authored multiple books for large publishing companies like Cengage, Pearson, and McGraw Hill in the academia world. I hold 2 healthcare degrees. I was valedictorian over both of those degrees. In fact, right before I almost died in 2019, I just graduated with my second degree because I worked for colleges and my health declined rapidly. I actually had a hysterectomy when I was 29 years old, and I've had
Mhm.
13 surgeries due to endometriosis. And now I'm aware that that wasn't just endo. I actually had parasites, mold, and undiagnosed chronic Lyme for over 30 years. So I
Wow.
have kind of a personal stake in this gain here of
Yeah.
helping the knowledge of people around me and other colleagues that I've worked with because I was so misdiagnosed and so medically abused over my 20 years. I'm 47 years old and I take it real serious because of the fact that I was pushed around, I was gaslit, and I have knowledge. I would go into my doctors with this knowledge and I would be treated terribly. And so it really was a huge pain to purpose for me that in 2019, my husband and I was dying. We knew it. We were, we already had come to grips with that. We were getting our affairs in order. We had purchased a piece of recreational property out in Hoodsport, Washington, which is on the outskirts of a rainforest. And I can put all my energy into building this log home with just the two of us so that when I died, my husband would have no mortgage and no debt. It was really important to me because being chronically ill is expensive.
Yeah.
And we had to quit our careers. We had to sell everything and we moved out there to save my life or to say goodbye. And so
Yeah.
I really took that internally and I ran with it to really help me figure out what was wrong with me because all of my surgeons and my team of doctors gave up on me.
Yeah.
And it was because they didn't have answers and my insurance changed. So between the combination of the two, they abandoned me in the midst of all of my health crisis. And I realized they're not here for me. I can only be here for me. I need to figure out what's wrong with me. No one is here to save me but me. And really my husband. I mean, I don't know any man like my husband.
Right.
So he learned how to grow mushrooms. We started learning how to save my brain. And around 2021, at the beginning, I'd gotten off of Klonopin that I'd been on for 22 years from a lot of trauma from all of this. And so we had grown mushrooms. We were really doing plant medicine, but I just was not where I wanted to be with my health. I wasn't pooping regularly. I was having flares during the full moon. I was bloated. I couldn't lose any weight. And when I say I couldn't lose any weight, I had ballooned from like 200 pounds to like 275.
Oh,
And I
wow.
couldn't get the weight off. I was so just like, I was so inflamed. I mean,
Yeah.
you can see it from my before pictures to where I'm at now. And so I started going on a different journey, and I had a little following on TikTok. I had one since 2019. I was showing our house build, and I was showing us growing mushrooms, and we were out in the woods. And so I was showing all these things, and I came across a gal's video that said, I almost unalived myself over worms. And it just stopped me in my tracks because a few years before I thought I had worms and I was gaslit saying there's no way. You live in a first world country. Well, I used to travel internationally. So just because I hadn't been there for a while, it's just I guess an assumption that with worms they just automatically cause problems, which is a myth. They can lay dormant in you for a very long time until you have a very disruptive event and it causes chronic illness. My
Mhm.
disruptive event was in 2016. I know exactly what happened. I know exactly when it happened, just like I know exactly when I was bit by a tick when I was 13. So
Wow.
it starts to kind of make sense as I'm progressing through my health journey. And so I come across this gal's video and I'm like, for 30 bucks, which was honestly our only $30 for the week.
Wow.
And I told my husband, I go, I gotta do what she's saying. Like, we're just gonna have to go to the food bank and get our food for the week because I need to take my $30 and I need to buy what she's saying.
Right.
So I did. And within 3 days, I saw roundworm, flukes, and pinworms. And I immediately knew one of my root causes was parasites. And I grabbed my phone
Wow.
and I said, I have been in Western medicine for over 18 years and I've never dewormed myself until now. And that stopped everyone in their tracks.
Right.
And that video within 2 hours had 1 million views. I gained 200,000 followers overnight. I made 10 videos a day, and I've done this every day since
Wow.
July 18th of 2021. I've never taken a day off. That's how dedicated I am to
Oh my
teaching
goodness.
people about how environmental toxins can wreak havoc on your body. And then I created a kit because there was nothing out there, and I was talking about all these other people's companies. They weren't being transparent with me, which is very important. I believe in full transparency for herbs. And when I would ask questions, they wouldn't give me the answer I wanted. And I'm teaching people about their products. And so I went viral. I did this for a few months. And then in September, I realized I have to create a kit. Like,
Yeah.
I need to have something out in the world that's parasites, candida, heavy metals, has a biofilm breaking herb, which is really important, has a binder, includes instructions, because I'm spending like 8 hours a day doing videos talking about other people's products. And I'm
Right.
telling them how to piecemeal them together, and it's very expensive. And I thought, I can do this myself.
Yeah.
So I created Rogers Hood for me to be able to have my own cleanse called Parify. And we have other cleanses since the midst of this. I found out I had mold poisoning. I found out I had undiagnosed Lyme. So that's where it started. I'm not just some
Yeah.
random chick, the worm lady at mean that literally is taking this very seriously. I've done hundreds of podcasts, and it's just really important for us here in Western medicine countries to understand this could be an issue for you.
Oh, I have so many questions. How many people have responded to you, have gotten your kid and responded and have their lives have been changed? Because I mean, I can't even imagine the number of people that are dealing with what you were dealing with before. I can't even imagine. And people that are dealing with it that don't know they're
Right.
dealing with it.
Right, because we're gaslit, and even in the wellness world, they don't believe we should be doing this 3 to 4 times a year minimum, and that when you have malnourished and you are not absorbing certain nutrients, that something is absorbing those nutrients. Your body's not just throwing them out. So
Yeah.
what is happening inside of our bodies is really important to know that that could be an issue. It might not be your only root cause. Mine was parasites, mold, and Lyme, but I had to get my
Okay.
parasites under control for me to dig into the mold and then dig into the Lyme. I didn't have enough energy because they're energy vampires, you know? So I have 2 million followers across
Wow.
all my platforms, and we've sold over 350,000 kits worldwide since December of 2021.
Oh my goodness. That's
Yeah.
incredible.
Okay, so for somebody that's listening that has never even heard of a parasite cleanse before,
Mhm.
you talked about different symptoms that you had. What are some common, and maybe everybody's different, but what are some common symptoms that somebody might have if they've got worms?
Grinding your teeth is a huge symptom and an indicator that you have a parasite, and it's because they absorb magnesium and calcium, and they've hijacked our nervous system. So when you
Mm.
go to sleep and you grind your teeth, they're nocturnal creatures, so they're up all night long, and that's their way of keeping you up so that you feed them. If you start to eat after 7 p.m., you're craving sugar, you're craving salt, you're not really feeling like this is really you. It's probably not, because they're in a live frequency inside of our body. And so if you see them out, like you see them moving on my videos and stuff, like that's
Mm.
what they're doing in our bodies. And
Wow.
so they are telling your nervous system and your lymphatic system and other parts of your body to feed, to stay up, to grind the teeth. That's your body indicating something's going on. If you bloat after you drink water, you probably have a parasite. If you have
Mm.
low iron, if you're anemic, you have hookworm. 90% of anemia comes from hookworm. It's actually a statistic from the 1900s when
Mm.
Western medicine was first built. It was actually built on hookworm from 1924 on. So there's so many things that it could cause major anxiety, depression, something like toxoplasmosis gondii will actually take the fear away and cause you to be promiscuous because it rewires your brain.
Wow.
RFK Jr. had sarcoma, which is a tapeworm of the brain from eating undercooked pork. I had cryptosporidium parvium, which is parvo, which unalives puppies, and it
Yeah.
was shutting my organs down.
Oh my
Uh,
goodness.
Cyclospora, right? That's what's in the news right now with the Taylor farms, and it's
Right.
really great that it's being brought up the way it is. However, it didn't just start with Taylor Farms. In
Yeah.
fact, that's a human feces parasite, and it's because when someone goes in to the field to pick produce, they go to the bathroom right there in the field as well, which is how hookworm
Mm.
created the epidemic in the South in the 20s, was from all of the sanitary conditions that they were
Yeah.
walking around barefoot. And when they go to the bathroom in the fields and then they pick our produce and then we don't soak our produce, that's also resistant to bleach and chlorine. So
Yeah.
they bleach and chlorine our lettuce, but it actually thrives inside of bleach and chlorine. That's why cyclospora is so hard to pinpoint. If you go into a public pool, and you get explosive diarrhea after, you should do the Parafy kit because you've caught cyclospora. They're in the pool because it's chlorine, right?
Yeah.
So I think most symptoms nowadays of chronically ill people can be led back to a parasite because we're eating salmon, we're eating sushi, we have pets, we're out there grounding in the dirt, which I don't say stop that. Just use diatomaceous earth and clean the dirt that you're going to walk around and make sure no other animals poop in it. Again,
Mhm.
feces is a big reason why we have parasites.
Yeah.
And so, really, now it's just about, after the last 5 years for me, it's just knowing, being proactive, and when I go to eat something that might have a parasite in it, like salmon is notorious for worms. It can actually
Mm.
have 10,000 eggs in 1 square inch of salmon. And we're out here raw dogging raw produce. And so it's not fear mongering. This really is just about us knowing that other countries know, other countries deworm. They have access to synthetic dewormers and they know what herbs to use. We just have not had this education or knowledge handed to us.
Do you think that's why? Because you said you worked in Western medicine for so long and this is not a common thing. Do you think that's why this is not something that is taught and people know about, and so it's just not a priority?
I think it's a little of two things. One, I think Rockefeller's feelings got majorly hurt when he wasn't able to eradicate hookworm in 1924 and then use the 10 steps that he did for global health to build Western medicine. I think it hurt him and he couldn't see an end to not doing synthetics. I think he's a villain. I say this right after because I don't side with anybody. I side with the herbs. I think he tried, and I believe that it just started to get lost in translation as we were developing Western medicine. It was, oh, it's not a problem in other parts of our country. It's only a problem in the South. And you can see that in the history of medicine, that it was a 40% of people died from hookworm. I
Yeah.
mean, they were dying. The South lost the Civil War, they think, because of hookworm. So it
Mm.
really played a large part in our system for medicine. But I know the way that our books are written for education because I wrote them. I also was a subject matter
Yeah.
expert for these publishing companies. And so what I would say at the end of the day went. So if I said that doesn't have anything to do with us now here in 2026, they would remove it. My word
Wow.
was the last word. So
Wow.
all of a sudden now my word is what's changing the future and leaving some of this art behind in the history. And so it's very easy for us to tweak this, but they are aware in the government. I have a CIA document that I found in 2016. That's how I know I'm supposed to be the worm queen because I didn't know in 2016, and then in 2021, I go viral over worms, and I found this document in my pictures when I was looking for
Oh,
wormwood
wow.
information and colonics, and so I read it, and, like, they know that endoparasites resemble malignant tumors and that they're in the same world, and that our bodies, when they lay stagnant, create abnormal cells that then turn into malignancy. And so,
Mhm.
in all honesty, I just think this has just been a lost art, and other
Yeah.
countries know their water is contaminated. Our water had worms in it in Hoodsport. Our
Mhm.
water that serviced 4 or 5,000 other people in our community, we tested it. It tested positive for nematodes. I then went down that wormhole. I tested Seattle when we moved. It also tested positive for physical worms, which are called nematodes. Our country does not test our water for physical worms that are nematodes. Roundworm larvae is what our water had in it. And that wasn't with a break. That was just a normal test because I was so ill. I was trying to find all the answers. I'd gone viral.
Yeah.
And when we sent the water to Mexico, that's where all of my testing has been, is in Mexico. Um,
Mhm.
the labs here don't test well. We have really terrible testing for our
Isn't that
country.
crazy?
It's very crazy.
As much as we can do in this country, that's just crazy to me.
Well, they're evaders, right?
Yeah.
So I actually did the same stool test for LabCorp as I did parasites.org that went to Mexico. And LabCorp came back negative and parasites.org came back positive. And it's
Wow.
because maybe the scoop that I did in that moment to them had an egg in it, and the scoop I did in the LabCorp did not. It also sat in LabCorp for 15 days. It's not a priority. A parasite stool
Right.
test is not a priority. So anything that could have been there could have died, where they immediately make it a priority at parasites.org and other places like Vibrant and GI, like their whole testing is around this wellness, but even they
Yeah.
come back with negative because they're evaders. And
Yeah.
us talking about this right now and the viewers, the followers, the your community listening, they may have a parasite pop out because they're
Right.
alive. And my frequency, for some crazy reason, because this is what I meant to do, I make people pass worms. I was on a cruise and this gal, I wasn't going to talk about what I did for a living on the cruise, and I just needed some time off.
Yeah.
And she was my bartender, and I'm sitting there and I'm looking at her and I'm like, "Oh, the universe is downloading something into me right now. I can't." I can't talk to her right now. Like, I just need to sit and have a drink. And so I'm sitting there and I'm looking at my husband and he's like, she's got a parasite, doesn't she? I'm like, yes. And I'm not talking about it
How
right
do you
now.
know? Like, how do you look at somebody and how can you tell? Is there something literally is in our skin, in the way we look? Like, what are some signs?
Well, for her, her hair was thinning. And then I found out that she actually had just gone and got tested and that the doctor gave her, she thought were antibiotics, but it was 3 anti-parasitic pills.
Oh, wow.
Course, I said something the next day. I, like, went to bed that night, and I got up, and I was like her name was Olympia, and I went to the bar again, I sat down, and she's like, "Can I get you a drink?" I'm like, "No, but we need to talk." And she goes, "What made you go from?" Because, like, my husband and I, we lost everything. We
Yeah.
had bankrupted us with our health. And so, she goes, "What made you go from being bankrupt to, like" I was in a suite because I was treating myself after all these years. I treated
Yeah.
myself to a really beautiful cruise.
As you should.
She said, "What did that?" And I was like, "Alright. Well, I've been told I need to talk with you because of what I do for a living." And she goes,
Exactly.
"I cannot believe you're sitting in front of me. I just got my labs last night and I don't know what they mean, but the lady gave me some antibiotic." And I go, "Oh no, that was an antiparasitic, wasn't it?"
Yeah.
And she said it was Prazoquil. And I said, "Oh my God, let's talk, girl. I need to look at your labs." And
Yeah.
literally her EOS was spiked. She got a stool test that was positive. She moved her hair and she had no hair here from
Wow.
her losing her hair because she caught it from her dog.
Wow.
Her and her dog had the same parasite that was wreaking havoc on her. And
Oh
so
my
as soon
goodness.
as me and her talked, it's one of the coolest stories because I saw how sick she was. She
Mhm.
had bags under her eyes. Her skin was a mess, which is these are all indications you have a parasite. Her hair was thinning because she wasn't getting nutrients into her body. She was
Right.
very frail, but she had a belly that was distended.
Mhm.
And that are classic symptoms of parasites. When I can see somebody, I immediately can determine what kind they have as well,
Yeah.
and also, like, where it's wreaking havoc on your body. And so when she showed me everything, she started taking the antiparasitics, and then, I sent her a kit, and she's great. She's great now. She
I
does it
know.
3 to 4 times a year. My mom had anemia. She no longer is anemic. She almost died at the beginning of the year, and so she's on cleansing, and she doesn't her iron levels went from 10 to 282, and she accepts her iron infusions now because even though she doesn't want the label, she had hookworm. She's
Mm.
always had some iron issues in her body, which is an indication that you should be cleansing.
Yeah.
So, there's a lot of symptoms that you can have that when people hear me say these words, they're like, "Well, that's everyone." Yeah, but we should be cleansing 3 to 4 times a year. Other countries
Right.
do it, and they're aware of it, and it's in our water, it's in our produce, it's in salmon. It's normal.
Well, I was
Parasites
gonna
are
ask
normal.
you, you know, I know it's in all those things you mentioned, the girl that had, like, the same one as her dog. Like, how are we coming in besides food that we're eating and pretty much everything, I guess.
Mhm.
How are we coming in contact with these things? Like, I love my dog, and now I'm worried
No,
because
you
I'm
just have to deworm your
always with
dog.
her all the time.
That's good.
What?
You should just deworm your dog. I like Safeguard. You can buy it on Amazon. It's fenbendazole, and you just put a pouch in their food 3 times a month,
Okay.
3 days a month, and then do it monthly because your dog is out there
Yes.
licking its butt on the ground, which is where
Yeah.
they also live in the dirt,
Yeah.
and it's maybe eating other dog's poop. You're taking it
Yeah.
to a park, and it's around other animals, and then it cuddles up with you. My dog had worms. I had a roundworm with my dog,
Mhm.
unbeknownst to me.
Yeah.
Would poop everywhere, step in it because it was so explosive for her, and then she'd come in my home, and I would try and clean, and I would do all the things I thought I was doing right, but they're microscopic. She'd
Yeah.
hop on my bed, like, I mean, if you just saw, like, some of my videos, it's also why I make all these videos on all of my
Right.
platforms because they'll wipe the paw of a cat, and they'll put it under a microscope, and there's worms. And
Yeah.
it's normal, like, pigs have worms and we eat pig. And so it's like cows have worms. Pigs actually are the worst in my opinion. They don't
Yes.
have a detox. They don't have pathways, so they don't have a
Right.
lymphatic that's going to move this out, and they only have one stomach. So you think your pig's getting fat and juicy and meaty, and it's just full of worms and toxins.
Yuck. 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 Oh my goodness. Oh, I was gonna ask you this. Can somebody have Lyme disease or a problem being bit by a tick when they don't show any symptoms?
Yeah. I had
Okay.
0 symptoms that would have been recognized by Western medicine when I was 13 and got bit by the tick.
Okay.
Yeah, I had
What
behavioral changes.
yeah.
Really, that's a big indication. I was in Austin last week and a gal just got bit by a tick at the end of June and got Lyme.
Mm.
And she said, "I've always loved myself. I've never had an intrusive thought. I've never had anxiety. I've never felt the way I feel today." She
Wow.
said within 2 weeks after she got bit by the tick, she started having intrusive thoughts and had to end up going to the emergency room over it.
My
So,
goodness.
it just shows that, like, when these environmental toxins get into our body, how much they can change who you are to the core.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm so adamant about the herbs and what I've done with Rogers Hood and how I talk to people and how I'm helping people because it might
Mhm.
not be you. That is your biggest indication, in my opinion, that you have something going on in your body is how you feel
Oh.
about yourself. I cleanse when I start to feel unworthy. I have, self unworthiness a lot, and so when I feel that, I immediately grab my herbs and I use them as a tool.
You talked in the beginning about how you were gaslit, how you had all these things going on and nobody had any answers and no what would you say to somebody that's listening right now that's in that position that they know there's something going on, but they are not finding the answers that they need? Obviously, they need to do a parasite cleanse, but
Yeah.
what else could you encourage them?
I mean, you could if you're afraid to do the actual parasite cleanse itself, you can do a lymph kit, and that has a mild anti-parasitic in it. It's, newer, you do it before the Parafy to get yourself prepped. And
Okay.
so using those herbs are what I always recommend. But if you're wanting to do something other than just a cleanse, vibration plate, moving your lymphatic system, that will get those toxins that are laying stagnant in your body moving that are
Okay.
causing you to feel that way. As far as like skin issues, when you start to clean up the inside of your body, your outside starts to follow suit. Like I know because I'm cleansing right now, that
Yeah.
stuff is starting to push out of my skin, which is a good thing. It doesn't always look
Right.
good, but it's a good thing that things are moving. If your hair is thinning and you don't have any answers to why, if you have that anxiety and you have no reason for it,
Yeah.
and you do eat questionably, I mean, like, let's be real, like, our food is not super great. We're exposed to heavy metals in the Parafy kit. I help move heavy metals out with cilantro because heavy metals weight down the environmental toxins inside of the biofilm. You have to remove those heavy metals when you're breaking the
Yeah.
biofilm down to kind of expose everything and release them. And so when you're not feeling right, specifically with, parasites, mold, and Lyme,
Yeah.
mold is a beast. I had mold poisoning, and it's one of the hardest things I've ever tried to clean out of my body, and next to Lyme,
Mhm.
and then parasites. So I would say mold, Lyme, parasites when it cleanse, like
Yeah.
for difficulties. But if you start with the lymph kit and then you move to the Parafy kit and then you do mold, like that's really the system that I recommend when you have environmental toxins in your body like we do.
Okay. Tell everybody, so somebody gets the kit, how does it work? Like, what do they have to do for this cleanse?
Well, making sure that you have your 3 Ps, which is peeing, pooping, and perspiring.
Okay.
If you're peeing and pooping and perspiring and not sweating just like randomly, like if you go into a sauna and you're not sweating, then you really need to work on your pathway, which I recommend like castor oil and red light and vibration plate to work
Okay.
on that pathway of not perspiring. I'm not a big sweater. I don't sweat
Yeah.
a lot. And so I just know that's something I'm always working on. And then I'm really conscientious when I do a cleanse that I'm not a big sweat person. And I like cold. I'm a cold exposure. I can sit in
Yeah.
a cold plunge like no one's business for like 15, 20 minutes at 40 degrees. No problem. People that have Lyme, cold exposure is your best friend. At the end
Mhm.
of your shower, everyone should do 3 minutes at the end of their shower of cold. That helps move your lymphatic system. You went hot,
Mm.
then you switched it at the end to cold, wash your hair with a cold, and then move on out. And you've just moved your lymphatic system while just biohack stacking, basically standing in your
Huh.
shower. So that's my recommendation for trying to get your peas moving. I'm not a big believer that you have to change everything on your first cleanse. I
Yeah.
believe that herbs are going to go in and work in your system the best that they can, whether or not you've changed your entire lifestyle to do a cleanse. I think that's a lot. I think that it becomes very overwhelming for people and they get very
Yeah.
afraid to cleanse. They're afraid to feel bad. They're afraid to look at what's in the toilet.
Sure.
Oh, there's so many things they're afraid of. Just take the herbs. It's 3 times a day for 30 days. You bind at night. I include instructions. It's tinctures, so you can add it to water, tea, or juice, and then you bind in the evening. And again, I include instructions because
Yeah.
I come from Western medicine where we need to give instructions to everybody. And so I just really wanted to make it simple. And it is. It's a very simple cleanse. It helps with parasites, candida, worms, heavy metals, and we have a biofilm busting herb in it, and then you bind. So we're a
Mm.
full system. You just
Yeah.
open the box and go.
That's awesome. I love that you're doing that. Tell everybody about Rogers Hood Apothecary. What else are you doing besides the Purify?
Well, we manufacture our own products in a 14,000 square foot manufacturing facility where we soak the herbs for 5 to 8 weeks
Wow.
and then we process the tinctures ourselves. We custom made this facility for us. My husband and I are builders. I
Mhm.
come from Western medicine, but we built our own log home. And so we just love to build. And we're building a home right now.
Awesome.
We're kind of crazy, but we do everything ourselves so that we can keep the quality and we can make sure that everything is done correctly. And then after we process those herbs, then we make the tinctures and well, I forgot what my train of thought because I get so excited to talk about manufacturing.
I love that. I love that you're doing all this and your hand is on it and you can see what, is being put together and how it's done. So I think that's really important and it means a lot to the people that are buying it from you for
Well, the
that very reason.
transparency is everything,
Yes.
right? And when I was talking about other people's products when I went viral, they weren't transparent with me. I would
Yeah.
ask them what the natural ingredients and the caramel coloring that they were using, why were you using that? Like, what
Yeah.
lab designed this? Like, these are herbs, they can be soaps.
Right.
Like, let's do it the way our ancestors did it. Let's use the herbs the way we're supposed to use these herbs. I
Mhm.
don't need more synthetics in my body. I need the herbs in my body, not just synthetics. And look what's going on with all of these big supplement companies like Thorne being bought out. I mean, it is really crazy the time
It
we're
is.
living in right now.
It is, it is. So my husband does a garden every year and they're almost finished building his greenhouse. And so I do have an herb garden. It's not very big, but I want to have a healing garden. I want to have healing herbs. And now that he's going to have his greenhouse, we can do this, all year. And so I'm 100% in support of doing things as natural as possible. I think that is the best thing for us. And
Mhm.
so I love what you're doing. I think it's awesome. What is your goal? Like, what do you see you doing in the next 5 to 10 years?
Well, I want to get in front of Congress so that we could have affordable, accurate, available testing.
There
That's
you go.
really important to me. This is a mission. I just have a company that helps fund that mission. I have a podcast of my own that I really love talking long form on so that people can hear and see. We've done like 60 episodes so far.
Awesome.
You know, 5 years, I'm just hoping that I have a really good plan by the end of the year, to be
Yeah.
honest. No, we're gonna be in stores. That's my goal. We're gonna be in stores.
There
We
you go.
finish our GMP, which is good manufacturing practices. You get a certification in that, and then it allows you to go into, like, Sprouts. I wanna be a
Yeah.
household name. I think it would be really great right now if Cyclospora is on the loose and you can just
Yeah.
go in and get a parasite cleanse at the grocery store. Like you can
Okay.
get some antiparasitics at the grocery store, but you have to piecemeal everything together. There is no
Right.
kit out there. So I'm
Yeah.
trying to carve that space for us to have a parasite cleanse kit in stores.
I think that's so important. We have a Sprouts, so that would be awesome.
Yes.
I would love that. I would love that. This is amazing. I think what you're doing is so important, and I'm so glad I got to learn more about it. I will have all your information available for people to find you, but is there anything I haven't asked that you want to mention before we go?
No, thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. It's been wonderful. And thank you for giving me another state. I'm so excited.
Yeah,
Get that.
totally. What a great
Well,
goal.
yes, yes, yes. Well, enjoy your day. Enjoy all your podcasts. And thank you for what you're doing.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right. Talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Life Stories Podcast. There are a few ways you can support me so that I can continue putting out great content. You can like and share this episode, send it to a friend that you think might be encouraged by it, subscribe to my channel, whichever format you're listening to, and tell people about my podcast. You can also buy me a virtual coffee. The link is below and it's also at the bottom of my website. Every donation helps me continue doing what I'm doing. Thanks for being here.